We've had a 5-month dry season, and no doubt managing the water resources has definitely been a challenge. Joining us this morning in studio is Shaira Ali, Director of Operations at WASA, and Kelvin Romain, Acting Chief Executive Officer of WASA. Good morning to both of you and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have both of you on the show this morning, and I think an overdue conversation. We know that there was just a press conference yesterday that would have touched on some of the things that are taking place. So let's recap that first before we dive into the conversation.
Certainly. Thanks again for having us. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. So we had a conference yesterday, a press conference, really to bring to the attention of the national community our current state as it relates to our water supply. At that conference, we had the Director of Met Office, Mr. Shakiri Beg, who would have enlightened us with regards to the information on our weather situation. What was noteworthy is the fact that he did indicate last year as being one of the hottest years. However, in 2024, is looking as though it is going to be even hotter. Mm-hmm. It was quite evident up till now of the limited rainfall we would have had in Trinidad and Tobago, and as a result, our reservoir levels would have suffered that consequence. Director Ali was very comprehensive in her disposition yesterday in her discourse, and she indicated rather our levels. In the conference, I did pull one thing out. It was our major reservoir, which is our Arena reservoir. The capacity is approximately 10 billion gallons. Mm-hmm. At this point in time, it's about 3.5 billion gallons of water, which is about 35% of the capacity. The long-term average is generally about 61%. So it speaks to the situation that we have, but it also says that we are doing something well to manage that level. In preceding years, 2010 and 2020, we had lower reservoir levels, and the situation would have been much dire. I want to publicly commend Director Ali and the Operations Department for managing that, and also the public, because we need all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. All stakeholders here are extremely important in managing our water supply. Demand management is a big aspect, and if you allow me, I would also like to mention that we did institute the hose ban, but while people may think it's punitive, mm-hmm. It is just the intent is just to change behavior, right, and conserve accordingly. And we have been seeing the benefits of that. We have been seeing the benefits of properly managing our operations and our supply, regulating, and in typical economics, one of the things you do, you ration, and in this case, we have been rationing marginally. However, and when I say marginally, we do that so that we can optimize our output.
Definitely. Now, some of the things you just mentioned there, one thing just to touch on, again, is the hose ban, because it's not something unique that we've seen this year. This is something that we have seen happen over and over again, and we see a difference because, as you mentioned, also we see stakeholders, those of us citizens, we need to do our parts, and sometimes you'll be washing your car, you leave your hose running. Right. You leave your hose running overnight to water your lawn and these sorts of things, and this does negatively impact operations. And speaking about operations, Director of Operations, Shaira Ali, good morning again. Let's speak about what measures are being put in place to mitigate this, because, this is not unique to Trinidad and Tobago, right? This is being experienced in numerous other places throughout the region. So what are we doing here to just ameliorate it?
Good morning, and thanks for having us, and good morning to everyone. So the limited rainfall over the last several months have severely impacted all of our surface reservoirs, and not only those, but our surface water treatment plants as well. So the impact has been felt in the northeast, in the northwest, and definitely in the south from our main catchments being the Navet, the Caroni Arena, and the Hollis in Trinidad and Hillsborough even in Tobago. Tobago has also, encountered their fair share of reduction in production. So what have we been doing in the authority is several approaches. We would have streamlined our operations and edited or amended our schedules so that we allow for equitable distribution of supply. So those operations are currently ongoing, and the amended schedules will be published later today so that the general public can get an idea of now the number of days that the new revised schedule will take effect. We have also been doing and focusing on our leak management, and I'm happy to report this morning that currently we are under 400 in terms of our leaks, and that has been going very well for us, and we'll continue to manage and reduce our NRW as well. There are other programs we will be implementing, and this work has started under several initiatives with projects, specifically our well development program. We have done over the last 2 years 11 wells, and that brought an additional 2.99 imperial million gallons of water per day into our system. Now that supply was welcome because the well or the groundwater sources are more resilient in especially climate change and dry, harsh conditions, so that those wells will strategically focus on targeting the underserved communities throughout Trinidad and even in Tobago. We have also expanded our water trucking capacity to meet this harsh dry season condition. For the next few weeks, we would ramp the maximum capacity for water trucking and focus on strategic areas where we have compiled that schedules will not be successful. So that water trucking, that clustered approach will ensure that we target those persons who are the extremity of the system. So all these initiatives are currently in place and will be rolled out over the next few weeks to ensure that we limit the amount of disruption to all of our customers.
Excellent.
I'd just like to add, thank you very much, that we would have increased our staffing at our control center, our central command center, our call center, where we have now an additional shift, which created a 24/7 contact center. We also beefed up our central command center, where we would have utilized some technology throughout our network, where we have our pressure loggers remotely calling in, giving us respective information so that we could manage the scheduling much better. So I just wanted to add that.
Definitely, and a welcomed addition, of course. I'm sure many will be appreciating that. Now, as we speak about additions, the National Water Sector Transformation Program is also bringing some additions. Can we get some details on that?
Yes, Director Ali could speak a bit further on it, but what I could speak to, in Tobago, we have plans to construct a new water treatment plant in Goldsboro, as well as in Trinidad, Santa Cruz. So, Director Ali, you want to speak a little further?
Yes, definitely. A lot of works being undertaken now in the authority to improve our performance, our efficiency, and to provide that extra supply in the hard-hit areas. Climate change would have really impacted, and we would have seen that in a number of facilities, even for this dry season. Surface plants that traditionally would not have been impacted, for example, in Tyrico, in Richmond, and Tobago, they are now seeing reduced river levels, and that is something that has not happened before. So through the Ministry of Public Utilities and our line minister, we have embarked on a series of projects aimed at improving a number of areas in the authority. So it's bringing new water into the system, surface and groundwater. We would have been doing refurbishment of stations or booster stations or water treatment plants. We have done new storage reservoirs in several communities, and also we have done a series of targeted pipeline projects to look at areas where we needed to extend means, to replace high leakage means. So all these programs of work fell into different facets, different funding. The main one currently that we are engaged in is through the IDB, and through that program there are several parts of it. So we would have, as CEO indicated, identified 2 areas for strategic intervention at Santa Cruz and at Goldsboro and Tobago. these two areas where new water treatment plants will be constructed of the modular approach, meaning that in terms of our technology, we have been looking forward to the future and improving on our technological advancement in many areas. So this approach now would allow us, more importantly, to service those communities, but also even more critical, allow us to redirect the existing source or the existing supply to other communities in the surrounding area that who would have been impacted by low levels of service and schedule. So this program started with the construction of those two plants, but not only that, we also have several water treatment plants, existing plants, that over years would have deteriorated, and we are now identified several plants in North Poach, in Chatham, in Freeport, Carpal, and those areas, those facilities will also be upgraded under this program. We also have, through the NRW reduction program, a key component of that IDB funding will be to target high leakage means for replacement. So it's multifaceted, and we are very excited. We are on board at WASA, and those works are much welcome, and it will definitely improve our operations.
No, Director, one of the terms or phrases you just used was over time. And one of the things that recently came to our attention is that over time things have been getting, of course, a little bit warmer, so not recently, but of course what recently did come to our attention rather is the fact that this is not the hottest dry season that we've had, and we've been able to navigate this. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, definitely. 2010 and 2020, WASA encountered two severe dry seasons. And actually, in comparison to 2024, what we're seeing now is that those 2 years, levels at the arena, our largest facility, it was much lower. For example, just to give an idea, the percentages or the capacity of the lake at that time was at 15 and 19%. And now we are currently at our level here, which is about 36%. So we are still in a better state than we were in those severe past in those 2 years where conditions were more drought-like. So we have been managing very well. We were able to very early on in the year, starting from the end of January, make cutbacks at the major impounding reservoirs, and that allowed us to ensure sustainability of supply now. So as we navigate through the next few weeks, we are confident that we will be able to still manage and maintain the supply, although we have had to reduce schedules in some area and redistribute supply to ensure that the supply is available for everyone.
Reassuring comments. Thank you so much for that, Director. And of course, CEO, any closing comments for Trinidad and Tobago?
I'd just like to implore that we conserve and we use what we need. That's so important. I up to yesterday I was taking a little evening walk, and I observed someone using a hose, and I had to speak with them, explain, and they were understanding. So I would like the general public to understand how important it is to use what you need at this point in time.
The work never ends, clearly.
Never.
And Director, closing comments?
Conserve, conserve, conserve.
Conserve. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and all the best as you continue to work so hard and definitely deal with a challenging situation. Director of Operations at WASA, Shira Ali, and Acting Chief Executive Officer Kelvin Romain joining us this morning to speak on the water situation in Trinidad and Tobago and how we can all do our part. Stay tuned. There's more coming up on the Now Morning Show after this break.